All right, so if you take a look right here, you're going to see the camera that we're going to be using. We have Canon cameras, and this happens to be a Rebel. In this, we have the lens. Let me turn it on its side. You have the lens. You have the body of the camera, which is this part right here, this whole body. These do come apart, but I am going to request that you not take them apart. You should not need to take these apart at all, but you can see that the camera and the body do come apart. You can see right here that there will be a mirror that will reflect an image that will allow you to actually look at it in the viewfinder. And when that picture is actually taken, you're going to see that that viewfinder, I might flash at you, might not take the picture because there we go. I did flash at you. You'll find that the viewfinder will actually, the mirror will actually flip up to block your view for a second. What's really important is that you never touch the inner workings of a camera. They're very fine. You'll see that there are actually a set of sensors. I will actually point to it very carefully. There's a set of sensors right here, which is how your lens actually communicates with your camera properly. Again, this is the mirror right inside. Again, do not touch anything. Do not take this lens off unless you have a reason to and permission from me, just for safety, okay? So the lens can go back on. Let's get that lens seated properly. There we go. All right, so with that, I want to focus on the top of the camera. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. So if you can look at the top of this camera, it is really important that you guys understand that this will be a ring that's going to select how your picture is going to be taken. What kind of a mode will you use to take this picture? So right here, do we see this little white mark? That is what should line up with the mode that we'll be using. Right now, this camera is on automatic. You can see that it's on that little green rectangle. That's an automatic mode. So it'll tell you, it'll look at what you're taking a picture of, it'll take the best picture possible of it. Now, I would call that, for us, that's our cheater mode. We don't want to use that mode. We're professional, or trying to become professional photographers. We want to understand what these mean, okay? These are other modes that you will find. Let me see if I can focus that a little bit more. I think we're getting blurrier. There we go. Okay, so these are automatic modes for portraits, for landscape, night landscape, all kinds of good things. But again, we're going to focus on this AV mode right now. And I talked to you about AV. AV is aperture priority, which means I'm taking and setting this aperture to whatever it is I want it to be, and the camera will balance that image with the appropriate shutter speed, okay? I turn on the camera. It's off right now. This is the switch that I use to turn it on. So I'm going to flip the switch, and the camera will come to life. Now, it doesn't look any different than it did a minute ago, but actually, back here is where everything happens. Let's see if we can get that to focus properly. Okay, so this is the back camera screen that we're going to be looking at in order to figure out what aperture we are working at. You see the F number. I remind you, F number refers to the aperture. So that is exactly what we're going to be setting for this particular near, deep, and far, near, mid, and far photo shoot. So again, to change the aperture, you can see if I'm dialing, that number is changing. And the dial that I will use, flipping the camera back around, the dial that I'll use is located right here. There's a little dial that you push back and forth with your finger. This right here is the shutter release, so this is exactly how you're going to take a picture. So again, you're going to go ahead and take that picture by pressing that button, okay? So this dial will change my aperture, my F number, to whatever it is I'm asking it to do, as long as the camera is capable of taking it. You'll find that one camera might say 3.5, another might say 3, another might say 5 as its lowest. It has a lot to do with the amount of light and a lot to do with the lens that's attached, because each camera will have its own lens, okay? Now, speaking of the lens, This one is, this lens is, if you actually look, pardon if I turn the camera. If you look on the lens itself, this is a Canon zoom lens, and you're going to have an 18 to 55 millimeter. So what that's talking about is how close or far can you take a picture and how much zoom does it have. You'll find that some are a 50 millimeter only, which is a fixed lens. You do the zooming in and out with your legs, of course, making sure that it's safe. So basically, in this case, we know we have a little bit of zoom. Let me turn this back. To zoom, I use this ring right here. This ring has a lot of ridges on it. That is what we will use. You will see that lens extend forward and backwards, okay? Now, additionally, we are going to shoot in a manual focus mode. And this one always makes everyone chuckle. The MF mode doesn't mean anything bad. In photography, it means manual focus. So to make sure you are in manual focus, we're going to look on the side of the lens. You have right here an autofocus AF and a manual focus MF. You want to make sure the switch is shifted over to MF, and that will allow you to manually focus. If you have it on AF, when you take that picture, you're going to see I'm taking the picture. You'll actually see that it's going to move on its own. Yeah, it looks kind of cool, but it will probably not focus on the thing that you want it to focus on. And you want to tell the camera what I'm taking a picture of. I'm taking a picture of this apple with a blurry background. I don't want you to focus on the background. I want you to focus on the apple. In order to do that, I'm going to go back into manual focus, okay? So manual focus will be a really important component of what it is we need to do. So in this particular setting, I'm going to go ahead and make sure, again, I'm in aperture priority or AV mode. I've got it set to manual focus. I look back at my aperture. Let's let that focus. Oh, there we go. And this aperture is an f4.5. I'm then going to take that picture. Oh, and while I'm still here, can I have you look at this right here? This is the battery. If you guys notice the battery is getting low, like on one bar, or it's flashing, please let me know so I can get that charged up so that we're not stuck without a battery for the cameras for the next day, okay? So I'm set to an f4.5. I'm on manual focus, and what I would do is I would put my eye up to the viewfinder. Viewfinder is located on the back of the camera right here. You need to put your eye up to the viewfinder. Do not look for an LCD screen like on your phone. I want you to make sure that you're using that viewfinder because it's what a photographer would use to frame their image, okay? So you're going to put your eye up to the viewfinder. You're going to then jump to any zoom ring that you have, and you're going to go ahead and zoom in or out appropriately, okay? Following that, you're going to jump your hand to the front ring, which is your focusing ring, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to move that slightly forward, slightly back, and make sure that you're honing in on exactly what it is you want to keep in focus. Now here's the thing. If you do not have good vision, if your vision is not good, make sure that your glasses or contacts are here. You want to make sure to use them. Now if one day you forget them, they're broken, you ran out of contacts, make sure that as you focus, you hold the camera here, lean over, see if someone will peek in that viewfinder, and hopefully get that in focus for you, because this will correct for your vision. If you're focusing this with poor vision and it's perfect in the camera when you take the picture, to other people who have corrected vision or perfect vision, it's going to look blurry when it comes out. So again, this will only take the pictures as well as your vision is with or without glasses. So make sure you have them, okay? So I jump here to get my image nicely framed. I jump to the front ring to focus, and then I go ahead and listen. I take a picture. All right? So with that, I'm going to go over here, move this camera up. I'm going to increase my aperture, and right now I'm at about, let me see how high it goes. I go to see how high it is, f32. I'm going to go about halfway. Let me go about f13. How do I check on that? I look at the back of the camera. You can see that it's at an f13 right now, okay? Tilting it back. I come back in. I frame that image as I need to. I find focus if I need to. And then I go ahead and take that picture. Listen. Do you see how long that picture took to capture? It's like jump, jump. There's very low light in this classroom right now. I got to keep that in mind. Then I'm going to go all the way up to the highest. Do the same thing again. That was an incredibly long exposure. There's very poor light in here, so we're going to need to look at adding some light or actually turning on the classroom lights or shooting outside where there's brighter light. Because that exposure took so long, I'm going to introduce camera shake. This is going to move around, and it's not going to be a good quality picture. So you will need to take multiple pictures at different apertures. Do not settle on just 3. Take multiple pictures at each of, I would say probably 5, 6 apertures, and then pick the best of them for this assignment, especially because it's a big point assignment, okay? So once those pictures are taken, at that stage in time, you definitely want to make sure you know what camera it was on. If you have your own camera, no problem there. If you've got your own memory card, no problem there because you're taking your memory card out. If you have neither, you're borrowing a camera. On the bottom of each camera, let's tilt that. Nope. Just tilt it that way. There we go. On the bottom of each camera, there's an owl sticker. This happens to be the blue owl. There's a yellow owl, a purple owl, there's all the different colors. That's how I will dump them on the P drive. Anything that was taken on the blue owl will be in a folder called Blue Owl so that you know which one to go to, okay? So again, each school has their own naming conventions or own way of doing this. So this would be for Shepherd, okay? So with that, I'm gonna show you really quick how you change that memory card. You turn the camera on its side, you slide this open, and then you can flip it up. Never force anything. Please never force anything. You press down on the memory card, and you pull that out. You can then put your own in, but do not forget to put this one back in when you are done. And that is it.